the quality of alleged leads that are coming through, and marketing's frustrated that the sellers aren't following up on those leads fast enough. So we know in the world of B2C selling, and it's also true in B2B selling, but we know that the speed at which we respond to interest has a massive impact on whether we win. And obviously, we're wanting to find people in a buying window because, at least in theory, that would make selling as efficient as possible. But here's where I really see the disconnect. Inbound leads or leads based on intent are often a red ocean shark feeding frenzy of competition. And if you're late to the process in B2B selling, someone else has set the agenda. So often win rates are low, the levels of discounting are high, and it's really not ideal. So from a seller's point of view, right, so for the sales organization, the way that most leaders would define strategic selling is around, we're going to target effectively where there's strongest product market fit and where there's the highest probability of us winning. And then we need to engage early at senior levels where we help co-create the business case for investing in change, and we help the customer secure consensus with their leadership team for change. We help them identify and manage their risks. And in doing all of this, we create an unfair advantage. It was actually General Schwarzkopf, I think, in Gulf War One, that said to all of his American troops, actually it was a coalition of troops with other countries as well, the UK, Australia and others. But he said to all of his troops just before they initiated the battle, if you ever find yourself in a fair fight, you had the wrong strategy. The idea of strategic selling is we're going to do all of those things and we're going to create positive bias for us in the best interest of the customer. So I find that the selling organization is thinking that they want to do that and try and plan around that, but then the tyranny of urgency, every organization's going quarter by quarter or month by month, and the urgent is the strategic, and let's just close things. And they've just got these massive pipeline gaps. And marketing never creates enough inbound top of funnel for the sales organization. Sales organization are pretty ineffective in creating good strategic opportunities, and there's just this gap which creates all this pressure.
Do you feel, Tony, that's largely codependent on, you and I have had discussions about this before, and we even did at the Revenue Enablement Society quickly.
Yeah.
That gap is largely due to the explosion of methodologies that qualify after the fact. No one actually talks about what happens before. So what, obviously, everyone except George here is old enough to remember what we did prior to 2008
Yeah.
was sales's full role was to validate the market. What I was always taught was you needed to find out if they're category defined for what you can sell to them.
Yeah.
And then how you would do that is ask them questions around who they're with right now, what they like, what they don't, earn the right to ask more questions, ask questions like, and if you were going to look at grass is greener opportunities, when would you like to do that, etc. That earns the right to have that conversation. You're building a front loading of rapport, but that also gives you, you're defining your market, you're validating your market, and you can give that to marketing to create something to get you to the table, which closes the gap on timing.
Yes.
But that's not what we see anymore. Do you think, I'm pretty loud on it, what do you think that is largely due to the explosion of those other methodologies that kind of talk about what happens after and they forget about what happens before?
Yeah, Adam, that's certainly a really good point. And maybe even outside of different methodologies, we can talk about methodologies, but especially in the world of technology sales, but generally across the board, including industrial sales, service-based selling, what larger organizations have sought to do is to industrialize the sales process, and they've sought to segment functions. So obviously we know there's hopefully clear delineation between marketing and selling, but they should work in unison. They usually don't. But even within the sales organization, the concept of typically sales development reps that are responding to any inbound intent or interest and trying to qualify, then hand off to a seller. You've got BDRs, business development reps, that are typically doing outbound. And then you've got account executives, the actual sellers. They always have their own gaps and they should be doing their own prospecting as well. But everybody should be thinking about ideal customer profile. And I know, Adam, you're very big on this, right? So we should be focusing on where there's strongest product market fit, which means therefore we're likely to get the strongest yield for investing in marketing and sales activities. And people pay lip service to the concept of an ideal customer profile, an ICP. And the thing that we do at Sales IQ Global is we get people to think about the fact that there's firmographics, so attributes of organizations, so industries and geographies are probably the main things about that, and then the size of organizations. Then there's psychographics, and typically for almost everybody, we're looking for companies that are trying to grow. So they've got this acquisition, innovation, growth mindset, because that's the most likely type of organization that would invest in change. If they're just in crisis mode, they're typically focused on cost cutting. And then the third element is really technographics, which includes competitors. So if we know that a growing organization that's got an inadequate technology or product or service or solution from a competitor that we've got a proven path in being able to replace, then they're typically a good prospect, right? So